ahead and I've put out all these different organisms. I have 11 organisms now in my POW Island food web. I changed the name of it. I said Denali before, and I wasn't even thinking. I'd done sea otter for my presentation in class, and I thought, oh, I'll just do something in a different part of Alaska. But obviously there's no sea otters or any of these other marine animals in the middle of Alaska, which is where Denali National Park is. So I changed it, and when you select one of these boxes and the text like this, you'll get this little text editor that pops up. And so I just changed mine to bold, I changed the color to green, and I changed the size to big 24, so it would be a little more obvious as being my food web title, okay? So now I have my 11 organisms. Mine, I made my sea otter one different, which you don't have to do. I was just kind of showing you how you can change the colors on that, or the style on it. So I can change that style to a different one if I want, back like that, okay? But anyways, I would suggest once you put in your text, kind of shrinking those down just so they don't take up as much space. And now if we take a look at them, I've actually kind of organized these. I've moved them around to their respective places. Remember, carnivores, the animals that eat only meat, are at the top. As we move down, we get into animals that eat meat as well as plants, so we would call those omnivores. And then below that is herbivores, right? The things that are eating only plants. And then the bottommost section is actually producers. Now, on your worksheet, I asked you to only identify 10 consumers, okay? 10 animals, essentially, that are eating other animals or possibly plants. And I wanted you to also include, as your 11th organism, whatever your animal is that you're researching, okay, and doing all your project on. And so these are my 11, sea otter plus 10 other consumers. And for my producer, you're going to have to check out really quickly what some producers are in your area. I'll give you some general ones. I kind of move mine down here as different ones. If you are in the ocean or some marine environment like I am, I'm just going to use algae and plankton, okay, because they are producers that are created by photosynthesis in the oceans, and they're really the beginning point for all animals as far as the food chain goes in the ocean. They're extremely small, but of course small things eat those extremely small things, and then progressively getting bigger and bigger until we get to some of the big animals in the marine environment, okay? So if you are, say you're inland or you're doing like a land ecosystem, you could do general terms like berries. That'd be a common one that, you know, things like bears eat, and deer and a lot of other animals. Or grass, lichen, and plants. That's just a general term. Instead of going into exact species and stuff, that's just a general producer. That would be another good option to start with for producers in your food web, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and delete those off because they're not in my marine environment. And I'm going to go back up here now, okay? So now what I'm wanting to do is, since I've put them in their respective places, producers, the bottom, herbivores, moving up into omnivores, and then carnivores, I want to go ahead and start putting arrows in. Now this is fairly simple to do. When I want to draw an arrow from one animal or organism to another, I click on that animal or organism that's going to be eaten, okay? And now if I click on it and I select draw connector, it's going to automatically set up a connector, which is cool. And when I go up to the next thing, for example, small fish will eat algae and plankton, I'll connect it here. And now I click on it, and it gives me different options as far as how I'm going to connect them. You want an arrowhead going there, because an arrow, if you remember, shows the transfer of energy. And so to some people it looks like, oh, algae and plankton eat small fish. But really what it's saying is algae and plankton, the energy from this organism goes into a small fish, right? This is showing the flow of energy. And the flow of energy in a food web should always go from the bottom up, okay? Sometimes you'll see it kind of swoops across sideways, but really we want to go from the bottom up, okay? So from here, I'm going to start drawing in all my connectors. And keep in mind, a lot of these organisms are going to be eaten by a lot of other organisms, not just one. So I'll go ahead and put my arrowhead, oops, flip it. There we go, from small fish to crabs. Small fish would also be eaten by seagulls. Now, you're probably looking at these thinking, gosh, I don't know what all these things eat, which is totally fine. You have a couple options as far as determining what they actually do eat. Now, I've researched this enough that I know. But, for example, if I have a sea otter, I should know what a sea otter eats. Just from doing a presentation on them, that was a big part of what you presented on was their diet. I might also know the things that eat sea otters. However, I might look at something like a stellar sea lion and say, I have no idea what stellar sea lions eat. Okay, maybe somebody in the class researched that animal. Maybe you could ask them because they should be an expert on it. Or if not, you might just research stellar sea lions and see what they eat in POW Island's food web or around Southeast Alaska, right? So I might Google, what do stellar sea lions eat in Southeast Alaska? And it would show me some things like, small fish, like when the herring come through, or salmon, or Dungeness crabs, right? Different things like that. So you'd have to research or ask other people in class, okay? So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and draw in all my connectors. You can do the same thing. And when you are done, come back and go ahead and watch the next video.